Right folks, so welcome back to another video. We are finally doing something on this B7 RS4 that you've been seeing parked in the back of my last few videos. I managed to bring along a RS3 saloon as well for comparison purposes. The RS3 saloon is actually the first time Audi bought out like a compact RS saloon since the B7. I believe in between there was cars like the RS6 saloon, the C6 variant. I thought it'd be nice to get it side by side and give you an idea of how similar the dimensions are. But what I'll do, I'll give you a little montage now. And yeah, we'll just explore what's going on here. It's definitely an interesting one. The B7 RS4 is probably one of my all-time favorite cars. Just the way it sits, and it's just such an aggressive looking thing. This was like the time when Audi RS used to go the extra mile. Now I know some of you lot might be thinking, why aren't you comparing it to a new RS4? The reason for that is I think the modern day B9 RS4 is quite a different car to this. It's also grown in size, and the job that this car used to do back in the days, I feel like people who used to use these now use the RS3. Sportback or saloon. Is kind of that compact, powerful car. The drivetrain is literally as different as it possibly can be. This is a 4.2 V8. Might as well pop open the bonnet of both. Stock, these things were 414 horsepower back in the days. They do suffer a lot from carbon buildup on more battered examples, you could say. This one only has 38,000 miles and it has been maintained in every possible way by the owner. It has got a few mods. It is a stage 2 car. It's got a Miltech decat non-res, so it is pretty noisy. We'll get a start up shortly. As you can see, they're still in really good condition. It has been decoked also. I'll have a full list of all the mods in the description. This car is going to be going back to stock because it's going to be sold soon, so we thought I'd get a video in before it goes back to its original state. As you can see, 38,000 miles, very low for essentially a 13-year-old car. A lot of them out there don't really look like this. This car even has the original DRC suspension still intact. They tend to leak and a lot of people replace them with coilovers. This particular car is all as it is. And when we take it for a drive, we'll explain why DRC is so good. The RS3 over here is a standard example. Of course, inline 5, 2.5 litre. 394 horsepower from factory, very tunable. This one is a pre-OPF car, so it's got the Daza block, the usual sketch 7-speed DQ500 box, stock sports exhaust. It's a noisy thing. I think it's got an exhaust mod on it as well because it's a bit noisier than the usual RS3. But we've done a lot of RS3 content on this channel, so I won't go too detailed into this. The biggest difference between both of these cars is the four-wheel drive system. Now I know a lot of people just say quattro. They're two totally different systems in these though. This is a true quattro, you could say, traditional Torsen setup, whereas this is a Haldex. So if you notice the engine in an RS3 or any, say, S3, Golf R, stuff like that, they're all very similar. They're mounted transverse. Now, if you look in the RS4 over here, it's a longitudinal engine, so that normally gives an idea of that particular Audi model having that type of quattro. The Haldex has improved over the years, so this one is better than your earlier ones, but yeah, the drive on these things, you get a proper sort of rear bias kind of feel when you're pushing it. I just love the fact that back in the days, Audi used to just give you like totally different bits to your regular car. These seats were totally different to what you got on an S4, for example. Steering wheel totally different. For example, on that car, those seats you can get them in an S3. The only difference is the logo. Same with the steering wheel. All it is they've added some Alcantara on the sides. I'll show you guys some other similarities which I've come across as well between both cars. Little things you might not know about them, considering this car came out in 2017 and this car came out in, let's just say, 06. They both have the same key. So the RS logo one is for the RS3 and the left one is for the B7. Both identical keys, literally exactly the same. All those years and they didn't bother changing it. Other similarities include RS door handles. Now a lot of you guys might not know, but RS cars tend to have these little cutouts in the door handles. If you jumped in an S3, you would have a straight door handle. Now, if you go over to here, 10 years previously, that trend continued. What I'll do, I'll get a start up of both. So that was a few revs of both. I won't make too much noise here. We'll take them both for a drive. You get to hear them properly once we do that. Right folks, so here we are in the B7. Before we get to all the V8 noise and all the manual gear shifts, make sure you do go down and hit subscribe if you are new here and you are enjoying the content. That was nearly 8,000 RPM there. See, I did review one of these a few years ago, like a really battered one. In that one, like I couldn't even use the clutch properly because it was sticking. This one feels like you're like in a time capsule, like a B7 back in the days, but also improved because it is tuned by MRC and everything's been done on this car. It's basically like a new B7 RS4, so it's something very special indeed. I'm just going through this little sleepy town thing here, so I'm not going to make too much noise. Leave the valves closed as well. Believe it or not, this is valves closed. Can't be the whirring noise on a B7. Sounds like a jet, listen to this. The way it gets out of a dig is just ridiculous. No to 50, no problem. I do notice when you go on these cameras, it does follow it quite a bit, so you have to be prepared. Here's a second gear downshift. It just keeps revving and revving. You need a lot of space for this car. You get the downshift bang on, it's beautiful. And look at that overrun mapped in. Overrun from a naturally aspirated V8. Stunning machine, man, stunning machine. But if you guys can still hear me, let's go for it. Hey. Oh my days, man. This is how an Audi RS should feel like. But the DRC, man, I mean, we're on quite a smooth road, but even these little imperfections flies over it. You do not have to slow down when you get to a speed bump in this. I've been around local roads, just, you know, like local Birmingham rubbish ones with huge speed bumps, and you legit do not have to, like, you know, you go to a crawl when you normally, like, one of these high powered cars, the suspension's quite, you know, it makes a fuss. Not in this thing, it's like a little tank. I mean, just the way this dash is laid out, it's more of a focused cabin than the later cars. The quality is still there. Arguably, it's probably even better quality than the current cars, just how solid this thing is. Even when you shut the doors, it's just like a heavy door. So there's something about that is kind of missing in the newer cars. But yeah, it's pure simplicity. Infotainment system, all that of course is old now, but Gallardo steering wheel, lovely shift knob which is different to any other Audi I've seen, and you're sitting in Recaro bucket seats. What more can you ask for? Carbon trim everywhere. You won't have seen carbon trim in many cars back in the days, but look at the way it handles these bumps on face. Look at the steering wheel, how perfectly straight it is. I'm not driven another Audi that rides like this. Yeah, you got your mag rides and all of that nowadays, but the DRC, when it's working and not broken crucially, it's unfazed, absolutely unfazed. Jeez, and it's got a little overrun as well. This is dirty, this car is dirty, man. Yeah, what we'll do, guys, now we'll just switch over to the RS3. You can see how it compares to this beast. This thing is so loud compared to mine. It's a pre-OPF, but it's definitely got a little exhaust mod because it's louder than what I remember. But it's definitely got like a hardcore like DSG bang, or S-tronic bang, let's say. But yeah, straight away this definitely feels like much more of a daily compared to the RS4. The seats are much more flatter. They look very buckety, but I can tell you now, super sport seats aren't as hugging as you'd think they would be. They're more for looks. This thing's got lovely downshift, doesn't it? Right, let's give it some here. It's just a lot easier to access the performance compared to the 4. Don't get me wrong, both of these cars are great. but they're two totally different experiences. Like, they're the same size, they're both RS, but bang into limiter. You can actually hear that little aggressive thing at the end. You can't hear it on mine, but soon come stage 2, it's going to be all sorts of noises. It's definitely less direct than the RS4. You're like, the steering is a lot more vague. You feel like you're just cruising and effortless performance. The RS4, you gotta drive the thing. I feel like I would have one of these as a daily, and I would have a B7 RS4 as one of like weekend cars. Like, it's not a daily at all, that car, if you ask me. I know people used them back in the days, but especially like my friend's one, which is mint. Check this tractor out. I reckon that's a daily. Like, my friend's one is a lovely example. It's 38k miles, it's like been looked after. So like, I wouldn't want a daily, that car. I'd want to keep it for a special occasion. An RS3 though, getting it every day, use the crap out of it, put tons of miles on them, and that's what they're for. Straight, man, I'm smiling both of them. It's not like I'm saying, oh, you've got to have a B7 because you're a purist and all of that stuff. Mate, I'm loving the racket this thing's making. I suppose you guys already know. Been doing this for the last 2-3 years. Just need my one to make a similar racket. I mean, this back road here, this car's not on mag ride from what I believe. I checked in the drive select. Riding it pretty good. I mean, it's quite like cambered and whatever. Compared to B7, that just flies over anything, but this is not bad. Easy for it almost. It'd be interesting to drive a B7 on Pilot Sport 4S's. Can't be a bit of rev limiter action. I feel like there's two different experiences that can be had, and each should be appreciated. This is all about just a turbo power, like the 5-cylinder sound. You feel like you're in a little rally car, like flipping gears, and yeah, it just gives off that vibe. The B7 is more of that kind of, you know, that race car feel to it rather than a rally car. That feels like, you know, precision, and it's weird, I know I'm saying precision on an Audi, but trust me, if you haven't been a B7 RS4, give it a go. There's something about them. And the way they just scream to way past 8,000 RPM. But yeah, folks, I think we'll end the video here. Hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you drop a like on it if you did. Hopefully I managed to give you guys an insight into how these two cars differ. They're from totally different eras. They're totally different types of car. They both share a couple of similarities, mainly being the door handles and the key and the RS badge. But from there, the similarities end. But yeah, take care, guys. Subscribe for a lot more content to come. I'll see you in a few days' time.